Before he was a talk show host on Cartoon Network and Adult Swim, he was a Hanna-Barbera's greatest superhero, Space Ghost. Yeah, I watched the original 1966 animated Space Ghost cartoon. I already saw it 2 years ago in May 2022, but since I decided to make WarnerCember 2024's theme Hanna-Barbera, I decided, yeah, I had to include Space Ghost, the original show. And this is an interesting one because it's not just an ordinary cartoon show, because this show plays in each episode is in three segments with where the exception of 19 and 20, every episode is like this, where the first half of it is Space Ghost saving and his sidekicks Jen and Jace and Blip stopping some super villains, and the second half is where we see a kid named Dino Boy and his caveman best friend Ugg going trying to stop some bad guys. Hence the name and the show Space Ghost and Dino Boy. Well, it's mostly referred as Space Ghost, of course. It's also called Space Ghost and Dino Boy because again, the first half of it is Space Ghost, second half is Dino Boy, and the last third of it is Space Ghost keep still doing the same thing with his sidekick saving the world. I mean, not saving the world, sending well both that but mainly space and the galaxy. But 19 and 20 are is a big epic finale of Space Ghost stopping every villain's evil plan to kill him and save the entire galaxy, and every superhero from different timelines uh give Space Ghost back to his old timeline. And I'll talk about the Dino Boy part in just a second, because I'll focus on Space Ghost, because that's the most important thing about the show. Knowing, watching Space Ghost of who he was before we saw him in Coast to Coast, where in this show he is more serious, more heroic, and epic compared to his funny, weird, and comedic tone Coast to Coast has. And it's fun to experience that, to watch a character whose background is different than what we normally see him as. And it's a very interesting experience. And the show overall plays it as a standard superhero show for and the segment is, I think, 7 minutes. But it's a it's a fun cartoon. Is plays it safe, but it's fun and is a lot of fun. And it's fun to see Space Ghost fighting supervillains like Zorak, Moltar, Metalis, Spider Woman, uh, uh, Bragg, and so many different villains. And they have some fun moments in this show, especially in the big finale, and in their own episodes. They're a lot of fun. Of course, Zorak and Moltar are the ones you're the most looking forward to in this cartoon. But the other ones have some memorable moments, and Space Ghost is a fun superhero to watch. He's very an awesome character, and his superpowers are very, very cool. And I thought the voice performance by Gary Owens, who also voices Blue Falcon, is also an interesting experience, because with George Lowe is more, of course, more heroic, and it kind of uses his normal voice. But Owens uses a more brave and heroic voice for Space Ghost. And while George Lowe is my Space Ghost, Gary Owens did a solid job in the role as well. I thought he did a very good job for what he was given. And I thought Blip was a funny and cute sidekick, and Jen and Jace has some fun chemistry, and they are very fun characters, fun sidekicks. Um, and I thought the animation of both Space Ghost and Dino Boy is really good. It's not perfect because there are some animation errors sometimes, but overall it has some well animated, and it's also important to know that yeah, a lot of the animated footage of Space Ghost, Zorak, and Moltar would be used on Space Ghost Coast to Coast due to that show's low budget. So it's interesting to know that a lot of the animated movements of Space Ghost and Zorak and Moltar were originated from this show. And in terms of Dino Boy, I would thought it was alright. Probably because that's the show you're not looking forward to the most in this show. You're looking forward to see Space Ghost throughout the space of fighting supervillains, but Dino Boy is alright. Whereas about this kid and his caveman best friend, stopping several villains. Well, a couple of times, Dino Boy getting kidnapped, and Oog the caveman saves him with his dinosaur, and they have some fun moments together. And the villains had some moments as well, and I thought overall it was a solid cartoon segment, but Space Ghost, of course, the one you're looking forward to the most. And overall, Space Ghost and Dino Boy is a fun action adventure cartoon show. It's an interesting experience to know what Space Ghost's background was before he raced to fame in 1994. And it's interesting because this show was created by Alex Toth, who will create Birdman the Galaxy Trio and See That 2020. Both of them would be turned into Adult Swim shows in the 2000s. That's interesting too. And overall, it's a fun show, and go check it out. And you can get it on DVD.